A quick disclaimer before we begin. The PEMF podcast does not contain any medical advice, and the content provided is for informational purposes only. If you have any health concerns, please visit your healthcare professional. Welcome back to episode 10 of the PEMF podcast. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, Jessica Clark.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to chatting and talking about PMF therapy.
No worries, thank you for coming on. Well, just for anyone who might not have heard of you before or seen some of the videos that we've done before, can you just kind of tell us what you're doing now within football? Obviously, you're playing for Durham and what's kind of happening? Because I know you've got the season coming up now. I've only got 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, so we're at the latter stages of our pre-season now. So our first game of the season is actually this Sunday against Watford. So it's been a pretty grueling pre-season, but I'm just looking forward to there's no better feeling than playing like a competitive game. So I just can't wait to get the season started.
I say though, I've been watching a lot of the Instagram and everything, and everyone seems very excited for it. You've been doing a couple of like photo shoots and stuff like that. All looks very,
Yeah,
very exciting.
Yeah, it's all very like interesting leading up to the season because obviously you've got new players coming in, new staff, and obviously it's about building them relationships on the pitch, building the foundations, the blocks, and just try to get everything in place ready to be like on your best game. And obviously you want to be finishing as high up the table as you can. So we'll be looking to do that, and yeah, just looking to build on what we did last season.
Yeah, definitely. I say, how did last season end?
It was one of, collectively as a group, we all sat down and had a chat about last season actually, and it was one of them like we probably felt a little bit hard done by because we had performances, but we just didn't necessarily get the results. And I think that's the funny game about football sometimes. Sometimes you can be the better team, but not pick up the points at the end of the game, and vice versa. I mean, there was times where we didn't particularly play well, but then we got the points. So for us, it's about just being that little bit more consistent. I think last season we finished, I think it was around like the lower end of the table. So we obviously want to go as high up as we possibly can. And we, like I said, we did speak about it, and we said we just need to be a little bit more clinical in front of goal. So that's something that we'll be looking to implement for this season. But I feel like we're heading in the right direction. We've had a lot of pre-season games, and we've gone undefeated so far. So it's looking very positive.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know, as I said, looking very interesting on the Instagram. Everyone looks very up for the next season. But
Yeah,
talking about last season, obviously this isn't your first season ever playing football. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about like your kind of journey up until now in the football world?
yeah. So I've always played football since I can remember, since I started walking. Really, I just fell in love with the game. A bit of an odd one because no one in my family played, so I kind of took it upon myself. But it all started with me, playing with the kids in primary school, mainly the boys, because none of the girls were really interested in football. So in that respect, I was a bit of a tomboy, and I wasn't aware of any girls teams or whether it could be actually a profession. So I just continued to enjoy it. Took that into high school, and it was my school teacher um, that noticed that I was, quite talented at it. Like I love playing all other sports. I love basketball, athletics. I excelled in majority, but mainly football. And it was her that took me for trials um, at Leeds United. I think, yeah, I must have been around, I'm trying to think, around 14, 15 at the time.
Wow.
And she drove me there herself, in fact, which I'll be forever grateful for. And it kind of snowballed from there, from the age of 14 to 15. I was playing for Leeds, and then at the age of 16, I made my debut for Leeds United's women's first team. And then during that time, I was scouted for the England, I think it was under 17s. And then at the age of 19, 20, I then made my senior debut for the England national team. So it was quite a short period of time that I was actually involved in kind of like a professional setting, I suppose, to then obviously making my senior debut, which was a dream come true for me because I didn't think it had happened so soon. And then I just continued my journey there. represented obviously England, and I've earned myself over 52 caps, played in 2 European Championships plus a World Cup, and I've had a fantastic career. I then from Leeds went to Lincoln. Then they moved or changed their name, should I say, to Notts County. And then from Notts County, I then moved to Liverpool. I think that was in 2017. I spent 3 years there, 3 to 4 years there, and unfortunately, that's where I picked up my injury. Which then kind of, my career kind of declined then, as you do, but it's part and parcel of the game. Obviously, being an athlete, picking up injuries and stuff like that. But I think for the most part of my career, I was injury free. I never really sustained any big form of injury. So I think I got my knee injury at the age of 29, which is quite late on in a footballer's career. And then I left Liverpool. I think that was in 2021. And I was kind of in a point in my life where I thought, do I want to continue playing, because I'd struggled that much with my injury, and medical professions at the club at the time said that they didn't think I'd be able to play again. So I was kind of in a crisis of where do I continue playing. And I think when I left Liverpool, I kind of come to the conclusion that, maybe that's it for me. Maybe my career is over. Maybe, I'm in so much pain. Do I just kind of give it up, kind of thing? And it was I got a job where I worked, and then during that time I spoke to Sheffield United, and in a way they kind of convinced me to join their club and join their journey. And it was part-time football, so I thought, why not? So then I spent a year at Sheff, and then I've now, as we spoke about, I'm now at Durham, with last year being my first season full time. And now I had a great season, and now this is my second season at Durham, playing full time football.
I was say, so I know we saw some of the highlights from last season, especially one of your goals. Very good. But you mentioned your like the knee injury. What was the injury?
Yeah, so I remember it quite vividly. So like I sustained the injury in 2019. It was, and we was playing. I remember we were playing Chelsea at the time, and I think it was in the latter stages of the game. I'd gone to kick the ball, but I'd hyperextended my knee. And after the game, it had swelled up, and I was in a bit of discomfort. But at the time, I didn't really think much of it. The swelling kind of, reduced out of my knee, and I spoke to Liverpool at the time, and they didn't think it was anything serious. So I continued playing, and I was in a little bit of discomfort, and it just wasn't. My knee pain just wasn't changing. So then I got a scan, and on my lateral side of my knee, I think it's called your femoral condyle, I was missing a bit of cartilage there. And I sat down with the surgeon, and he was just kind of like, well, it's never gonna grow back. So the only option probably is to have surgery, which was in the form of microfracture. So that's what I did. I had the surgery. It was a very long process. I was non weight bearing for 6 weeks, which was difficult.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, going from being like a very active person to literally not being mobile at all. So that was difficult, and I just never quite made it back from the surgery. I was reintroduced to the pitch. I think it was a 6-month process, and I was still in pain. But it almost felt like the problem had been fixed initially, but I had a new onset pain, which was very confusing to me, because I was kind of like, well, I've just had the surgery to fix, one pain. So what's this? What's this now? Yeah. And then, I tried to come back. Probably wasn't doing myself much justice, because I was in so much pain and discomfort yet again. Seeing the surgeon again, he basically was like, we can go back inside your knee and have a look, see what's going on. And that's what he did. Went back inside again. That was my second operation. I then returned, but my knee just kept blowing up, swelling, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, there was just something not allowing me to return to the pitch how I was previously to my injury, which was devastating for me because, you know, I kind of went from being one of the, you know, one of the most threatening probably strikers or forward players in WSL to kind of not being able to do what I'm capable of. It's almost the best way I can describe it is you've kind of got a talent there, but it's laid dormant because of this restriction that I had, which was pain. And in total, I ended up having another operation. So in total, I had 3 operations to try and rectify the problem. And it just became a bit unbearable. I kind of got that low that, you know, football was my identity, so it was very difficult to kind of see life without football, and I just couldn't get past this barrier that was stopping me from playing at the time.
Then what were the kind of doctors prescribing you to ease this pain, or what were the physios doing to try and reduce this for you, or were they doing anything?
Yeah, like you had like I had a physiotherapist at the time at Liverpool that, you know, overseeing everything and with my knee, and the method behind it was, you know, trying to regain strength, trying to get yourself back on the pitch. But I think to some degree it just wasn't working for me. And it got to the point where, you know, after games, whether it's I was taking anti-inflams at some stages, especially before a game as well, just to reduce my pain, which is not healthy at all. And I won't probably recommend because it's not dealing with the root cause of the problem. The only way I could describe what kind of condition I was in is towards the latter stages of me actually being at Liverpool. I did see another physiotherapist, and it's always good to get different opinions because as far as I was concerned, I wanted my ability back. I wanted to be able to return to the pitch pain free without any discomfort. So I think, you know, I'd been at the club for a long time, but for whatever reason, I just wasn't making it back onto the pitch. So I spoke to another physiotherapist. He gave me his opinion on it, and his opinion was, you know, you haven't got a lot of strength around the joint. So I liaised with Liverpool at the time, and, you know, we come to some sort of agreement that we're going to do a test involving both of my knees, which is an IKE. I think it's called an IKD test. So it basically it's a machine that you go into and you have to resist against the machine, and it'll give you a calculation of your strength. So for example, say if one leg's 50% and the other leg's 50%, that would equal 100. My left leg was at 50%, but my right leg was at a 46% deficit, which meant that I didn't have any strength around the joint, which then I think accelerated the degeneration in my knee. And obviously for that amount of time, I was playing kind of under them circumstances, probably not with enough strength and you know, strength and resistance in my knee to sustain a full 90-minute game of football. And when I left Liverpool, and, you know, you do look at the scan, and my cartilage that I'd lost was extreme. I think it was like a grade 4, and then the inflammation in there was so much effusion in there. I tried everything. I tried, like I said, anti-inflams. I had steroid injections, which would last, I'd say it'd last 1 to 2 weeks before the pain started to return. And it was a very painful process as well. And then I also tried PRP injections as well, which that was probably out of all the most painful experience I've ever experienced. And unfortunately, that did absolutely nothing to reduce my pain at all. So it kind of come to a point where I tried absolutely everything that I was kind of suggested that was suggested to me at the club, and it just wasn't working. And I just didn't have any solutions at that moment in time, which, as I spoke about before, that's why I kind of left that club thinking this is, potentially the end of my career. And I get at the time they were saying, Jess, you might have to think about, what's after football, because your knee at the minute is in that much of a poor state that we don't think you can sustain a 90-minute game of football anymore. And it was just crazy, because I was just like, how can I go from having like a routine operation, which I understand it comes with its risks.
Yeah.
And I understand that, to now literally my knee being so much in a poor state to the point where I could potentially never be able to play football again. So I kind of, like I say, I left the club thinking I'm not going to play anymore. I think I left the club thinking, I'm just going to go to work, find a job that I kind of enjoy, and I kind of become numb. I became numb to not knowing what my future was going to be, because, like I said, football was my identity. But yeah, like I say, during that time, I then spoke to Sheffield United, and their team at the time were like, just come in, Jess, have a conversation with us. And as soon as I sat down with them, I spoke to the doctor and the physiotherapist, and it's just one of them things, you get a good feeling. You get a good feeling about the environment. That's exactly what I got. And the physio at the time, she was called Frankie, and Johnny Skinner, the other external physio that I'd worked with at Liverpool. They really instilled the belief into me that, we can get you back. We can do everything externally to support your joint, get everything strong, and then we'll have to just kind of see how you get on. And that's what I did. So I worked, played part-time football. They, Frankie and Johnny were absolutely brilliant in terms of that. I regained my strength, but there was still like that little bit of, there was discomfort still there. But I was only training three times a week plus a game on a Sunday. But it's one of them things, unfortunately, like physios and doctors, they can only do so much externally. So I had like a lot of acupuncture to deal with, to strength work to kind of support the joint, but they can't physically go inside your knee. If there's a problem, there's a problem there, and that, unfortunately for me, I had no cartilage there. So in terms of what they applied at the time was absolutely fantastic, but just going on to PEMF therapy, that was the game changer for me. That really, really, really set me apart from leading a pain-free life, let alone being able to now compete full time as a professional athlete again. Kind of that gave me back my identity, and it's given me back my kind of enjoyment. And I do feel back to how I was before in terms of being able to compete up there with the best.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like it would have been almost like a bit of a traumatic kind of journey, like losing that part of you and trying kind of all the conventional methods as such and kind of not seeing any results. So you mentioned obviously at the end going into PEMF. What kind of made you start looking into that after everything that kind of happened?
Yeah, so it was so out of the ordinary, really. It was one of my friends. So I was at Chef at the time, and like I said, the physios had done a great job in terms of getting all my strength around my knee. I'd had the test done, and that deficit that I had at 46% was now back up to where it needed to be. But there was still this like underlining pain and underlining problem where I was still having to be tapered, even though I was part-time. So being part-time, you're not doing as much as what you'd do full-time. So obviously, to me, I was still not being able to hit that bar that I wanted to hit. And a friend of mine, she was in the Sheffield area at the time, and she was playing for Derby County, and she just sent me a message. She's like, do you want to meet up? I haven't seen you in a while, mate. Let's have a catch up. And that's what we did. We went for some lunch. And we got into the conversation. I was like, what are you doing here in Sheffield? And she was like, I'm here to see a guy who's got a machine. And I was like, right. She was like, I've got a hamstring problem. And I've heard this therapy is like meant to be really, really good. And she told me what it was, and it was pulse electromagnetic therapy. And I was like, right. And she just said to me, I've seen him today and I felt the difference already. And I was like, well, do you think it can fix my knee? And she was like, yeah. So that's when I then kind of went away and I did my research into it. I got myself on Google, had a look at the benefits, and I thought to myself, I've been in, an elite environment for over 10 years. And how have I never, ever come across this therapy before? And it's never even been offered to me either. And it's a shame because even now, if I speak to people, even people in the, physiotherapists, if I speak to them now, some of them still have not heard of the therapy, which is a shame because it's so brilliant. I just can't just put it into words what it's done for my life. And as I say, I looked into the enhanced natural healing, the enhanced natural healing of it, how it corrects, dysfunctions on a cellular level, how it treats pain, inflammation. And what I did at that time after speaking to my friend is that I went to go and try this guy's PMF device, and instantly I felt a difference on it. I think I'd gone on it for half an hour. I'm not sure what the intensity was. I'm not sure what the gas was. And I was like, wow, this really works. And I sat and had a conversation with him, and he was like, yeah, like it's not really known here in the UK. He did most of his business, I think, prior to him coming back to the UK in America, which I think in America it's a bit more advanced there.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, right, I really, really, really need to get a hold of one of these devices if I can, or try it, or have one at home, because at this point it kind of, it gave me hope. It gave me so much hope, because I thought, if I can get to a point again where I am pain free, my talent will take care of itself. There's a real possibility that I can go back into full-time football. And yeah, that's what's kind of happened. I've purchased a device. I'm now using devices, different devices every day as part of my lifestyle routine. And obviously, with being an athlete now, I'm now in a position now where I'm training every day. And not only that, I'm training and not having to be tapered. So when I first had my surgery, that conversation, there was always a conversation surrounding training, and that was, Jess, there might be days when we have to do off feet with you just to make sure that your knee's in a better position for Sunday. I am now in a position now where I don't have to do that anymore, and I'm 34 years old. I'm 34 and I train 6 days a week and I don't miss a session. And if I do miss a session, it's not to do with my knee. It's to do with something completely different, whether I've taken a bit of an impact knock, or maybe I've overstretched and me groin, or something that you can't help. But I never ever thought I'd be in a position where I can train full time every day again and not have to be tapered. So it's kind of, to put it nicely, it's a dream come true, really. I never thought I'd be in this position again.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, so many people share the kind of same experience, especially when they go on the more higher intensity machines that you mentioned. And it's, once again, as you said, it's strange that you don't see it in UK football, or really in the UK at all. And it's huge in America. You see all the German teams have all got the PMF devices. They've all got the Zimmers, and just anyone here just has never heard of it. It's just always so strange. But you mentioned, obviously, you've got a couple of devices. What ones have you actually got?
Yeah, so I initially I started off with the OSKA Pulse, and that was just like it's a small device, very mobile. It lasts for, I think it's up to 80 minutes. but it runs consecutively. So I think like you can literally have it on all day, and that's what I started with at Chef. And I think that was then when I was like, right, I then need to purchase something, and it was probably worth investing more because I thought this really works. So what I mean by that is that when I was at Chef, I was working a full-time job as a child welfare officer, and because I wanted to continue to play football part-time, how it worked is that they condensed my hours into a 15-hour shift, so then I would getting my hours in. So they kind of worked around me. They were brilliant, to be fair to them. So I'd be working 15-hour shifts, then coming in the next day at 7:30, working till 2:00, then in the evening going training, coming back to work the next day at 7:30, working 15 hours, and I was doing that every single day throughout the whole season. Wow. And the first part, without the OSKA Pulse, I struggled, obviously, because like my recovery was compromised massively. I couldn't recover. It was hard. It was difficult to, be competing and plus working at the same time. But as soon as I implemented the OSKA Pulse, I found myself at work, and it was a very active job. So whether that's with the kids doing activities or whatever it may have been, I found myself thinking and forgetting about my knee when I had the OSKA Pulse on. I thought, oh my God. And then when I took it off, my knee had felt very loose and more mobile. It had so much more range of motion in there. It had less inflammation in there. And I just remember thinking to myself, this is crazy. Like, it's like you can't feel anything, or I couldn't feel anything at the time, but something's happening because my knee has never felt like this, prior to having the Pulse. So that's when I was like, right, I think I need to potentially look at, the higher intensities and what benefits that might entail. And that's when I had a conversation with NewMed, and I think I spoke to Grace at the time, who was a representative of NewMed, and she was like, well, that's amazing, Jess, but I can only tell you this is only 9 gas. And she was like, that's a low intensity and if that's working, then imagine if you went with a higher intensity. So straight away I was like so excited. I was like, right, what have you got? What do you think would help me? And what do you think would best suit for my, problem? Being my knee. And that's when she suggested the Biomag, which is a at-home use device. It runs in 20-minute sessions, but it provides you with a lot of different benefits. So you've got the healing effects, anti-inflammatory effects, detoxification effects. And I started using that, and that's when I then decided, I think I'd use it at the latter stages of playing for Chef. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. My knee feels even more better now. Like I really think I could go back into full-time football. Unfortunately, Chef wasn't full-time at the time, so I had a conversation with Durham, and I sat down and I spoke to the GM here, and he was like, unfortunately, when you've had a knee injury for so long, that's probably the first topic of conversation. Obviously, if someone's going to then they want to know if you're going to be able to, play, of course. And that was the conversation. And I was like, he was like, well, how is your knee? And I was like, well, at this moment in time, I'm using this device and it's brilliant. I really think I can come back and I can play full-time football, and we come to an agreement, and obviously I signed full-time here, and that's when I really, really started seeing the benefits of PEMF therapy because it's full-time football. I used it throughout the whole season of last season, and I don't even think I missed a game. I think I might have missed one game due to a little groin niggle that I had. But yeah, I was fine throughout the whole of the season, and I was injury-free throughout the whole of the season while using the Biomag. And recently I've been using the Cella 8 device as well, which is it's my new best friend, to be honest. I absolutely love it because it's portable, but it offers that high intensity as well. And not only that, the duration that it lasts is phenomenal. So it lasts up to 12 hours. So I literally can, like today, for example, I've got it on my knee now. So I'm not training today, it's a recovery day. So I'll have this on all day until I go to bed tonight. And then I'm ready for training the next day. So, and that offers so many benefits as well. It has different settings on there, like meditation, and I use it also on the night because it has a night setting on there, which helps obviously just gets you, into that frame of mind and kind of deeper sleep, better recovery. And since I've been started using that setting, my sleep's been amazing as well. So it's a shame that not more people are aware of the benefits of PMF therapy, because I know there's a lot of people probably out there that are suffering and in pain. And it's sometimes, when I'm walking around the shops and an older lady will come up to me and she'll see that I've got the device on and she'll say, "Sorry, can I ask what that is?" And I'll say, like, "It's amazing. You should try it. Go and have a look at it," because it's a better alternative to, medication. It doesn't have them long-term harmful effects that comes with that. So if I could recommend it to anyone, I certainly would. But even if they've got a friend or a family member that's got one, just to try it, because I know that here at Durham a couple of times I've said to the girls here that have got little niggles, "Come and try mine. Just come and try it." And that's what I did with one of the girls last year, and she was struggling with meniscus pain. And I think she was on the verge of, does she have an operation? Does she not? And she said to me, "Do you think your device will help?" And I said, "Yes, certainly. Like, I'm at a point where I have literally near enough no cartilage in my knee. If you was to look at my scan." So I said, "Come round, use it, and just see how you get on." And she came round once a week, I think for 2 to 3 weeks, and instantly seen benefits. And she was like, "Jess, right, I really need to take a serious look into that." And that's what she did. She's now playing for Sunderland, and I know that she has purchased a device. So I think sometimes if you do know someone or a family member or someone that has a device, just, and if you have got a problem or, a pain or niggle somewhere, just give it a go. Just give it a go and see if see if it works. Obviously, it does take time to some extent. I don't think you can just expect something straight away to just disappear, but you can certainly feel relief in that area. And going from my experience, like, when I was doing my research on it, how it, actually deals with a root problem, and how it can actually help with bone density. I've been using PMF treatment now for, let's think, a year and a half to going on nearly 2 years. And I know it sounds silly, but I can feel a real difference in terms, if I was to touch each side of my knee. Prior, on the right hand side, it'd feel kind of like just kind of thin, with no thickness around there, whereas now it feels strong and I feel confident in it. Hence why I'm probably now back playing full-time football, and I'm not in any discomfort or pain now. So yeah, it's been a real saving grace for me, and it really has changed my life. It really has. And I think not just the pains and niggles as well. It's for a lifestyle as well. Even after football, I will still continue to use PMF therapy. I mean, if we look at the world today, there's so many external factors that just don't help our health anymore, whether that's, processed foods, whether that's, not great for our health. And also lots of stuff now in the external world that don't help us. And this is something that can really rebalance you and keep you healthy. Because as you get older, your immune system does slow down, and PMF therapy is a way of combating that. It's a way of keeping yourself healthy, keeping everything going, great at a cellular level. And, for me, even when I'm starting to feel run down, I think to myself, my PMF will fix me. That's the first thing that I do. I'll get, I'll get home and I'll get on my PMF, and then, day I'll feel great. And more than often I do. So it's, it's been a life-changing investment for me, and I will continue to use it. And I try and encourage my family members. I think my nan, actually, she had like a little niggle on her arm. I was like, Nan, just go on this for 20 minutes, just see how you feel. And she was great after. It actually, it actually, she was like, oh my God, it feels so much better. So yeah, like I say, it's just getting people to try it and just see the benefits for themselves.
No, exactly. That's what we always kind of advocate. Just if your friend's got a device, just use it for 20 minutes, see how you feel. Most of the time, people don't ever want to give up their devices because like you use them all the time. But yeah, as soon as people start using them, they notice the difference and say the same thing you have. Well, why didn't I know about this sooner?
Yeah, no, I'm so protective over my devices. Even if my dog leans on it, I'm like, off, be careful, because that is so precious to me. Because it's like I say, it's just changed my life so much. So I protect it as much as I can because it's been so beneficial for me.
No, definitely. Out of the three that you do have now, what one would you say you're using the most?
At this moment in time, it's the Celerate, if I'm being completely honest. I think although people speak about the fact that you can't really feel anything going on the lower intensity, like the OSKA Pulse, I couldn't really feel as much. But on this Celerate, I can feel it. It's almost like I can feel the electric magnetic waves, how you describe it, going into my knee, and it kind of gives me like a little bit of like a mild ache, which for me, I'm like, wow, yeah, that's good because it's working. It's doing it, it's working. So even now, I'm sat with it on my knee while we're speaking, and I can feel it working, and it just gives me, like I say, it just gives me instant relief. That's the best way I can describe it. So if it's after a session, it might be a little bit stiff, but I don't really allow it to get to that point anymore because I'm in such of a good routine. It's even like with my OSKA Pulse, I take that to training and even the Celerate, and straight after the training session, I'll put it straight on my knee. If we've got a gym session, put it straight on my knee. So that kind of frame of mind where, just keep doing what's working for you because it's it does work. But at this moment in time, I'm using the Celerate literally every single day, and if I'm going on any away trips, it's in my backpack as well. And because it's portable and it's a more of a high intensity, it's fantastic because with my Biomag, I can't. It's quite big. That's for more at home. So that comes with the mat and then like a single applicator, which is 350 gas, and it works brilliantly. But this just provides so much more flexibility, especially when you've got a busy lifestyle. And like I say, I can just feel it for whatever reason because this is 100 gas, and I know it's a low intensity compared to the 350 gas, but for whatever reason, I feel it more. Don't know why, but yeah, this Celerate is absolutely brilliant. It's my new best friend now.
I'll say that's great to hear. You probably, I don't know if you can see my t-shirt. I've got a Celerate t-shirt on. But you mentioned about taking it to like games and stuff like that. Is it something you would take to away days at the Celerate, and how do you actually find taking it about?
Yeah, so for example, we're actually playing away this weekend to Watford, so we'll be Saturday and we'll train. First thing we do is get showered and then we'll get on the bus. It's very lightweight. It comes in its own little packaging, so it's easily pop into my bag. As soon as I get on the bus, I'll apply it to my knee straight away because then it's just kind of like instantly getting the recovery in there from the session. And then I can, like I say, it runs for up to 12 hours, so it's a 4-hour journey. That's nothing. Obviously, that's just work while I can sit there and watch a film, or and then once I get to the hotel, it's just easy. You just apply it to your knee. It comes with its own band with Velcro on it, so you just attach it. And to be fair, sometimes you forget it's there, but that's the beauty of it. You can get on with your day and not really have to worry either. So, and it just provides all them benefits. And I think leading into the game the next day as well. Like, I know if I go back, really far back, I got into a routine where I was having to have anti-inflammatories literally like before every single game, even sometimes before a training session. Whereas now I don't even need that anymore. I don't even need to PMF therapy because my pain now is it's near enough non-existent. So yeah.
That's brilliant. Really great. But so you obviously mentioned using it on the bus and using it here, there and everywhere. You don't find it difficult to kind of find time to use it in your schedule?
No, certainly not. Like I say, you just apply it to your knee. It's its own like Velcro strip, and you just get on with your day. Even when you're not playing away, like even around the house when I'm cooking dinner, I can be at the and making my dinner, and it's just strapped to me. So there's no reason why you can't not use it because it's just so easy to apply to your lifestyle. I think obviously when you've got the ones that are plugged into the mains and you have it at home, then it's not difficult I would say, because you can always find time in your day where you can use devices. It's not that, it just depends on how often you want to use a device. Whereas me, the more I use it, the better benefits I see because I'm still active, and obviously I'm still classed as an athlete, and recovery is so vital. So the more recovery I can get, the better. So that's why this particular device Accelerate fits my lifestyle very well.
I'll say that's brilliant. I know that was obviously one of the biggest aims kind of with Accelerate was we want to make it integrate into people's lifestyles. You don't want it to be like other devices that are heavy to carry or just you can't take anywhere. But we'll kind of wrap it up now with one last question. If there's any other footballers listening to this that have had the same experience you've had, what would you say to them about using PMF?
I think if anyone is in a position where they've got the opportunity to use a device, certainly do, because I can talk from experience how much has changed my life, and I'm certainly sure it'll change yours. I think it's probably a big statement to make, but if I could reverse the clock and, if I was sat down with my surgeon at the time, and, that's not to speak ill of the surgeon. I think he did a fantastic job when he went in my knee, but when I left Liverpool, I was in more pain than when I first picked up my injury. So if I would have been introduced to PMF therapy before surgery, I would never have had the operation. And so that's how highly I speak of this device and the devices that are out there. All I would suggest is just do your research, have a look into it, have a look into the benefits, because it's something that can, if anyone or a footballer or an athlete is struggling with a pain or an injury that is restricting them from going and playing and doing what they're good at, then this is an alternative method to something less invasive that can potentially get you back there. And I promise you, it is worth the investment.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully that reaches whoever it needs to reach or whoever might need that. But thank you so much for coming on. It's been great. I've really enjoyed it.
No, thank you. I've enjoyed it.
No worries. Well, hopefully anyone who's listening, if you could please give us a follow on Spotify, drop us a 5-star review, subscribe to us if you're on YouTube. But tune in next week for another PMF podcast.